The German Shepherd wouldn't stop circling the newborn's crib. When Sarah finally understood what her dog was desperately trying to communicate, she collapsed to her knees. She had spent days keeping them separated, absolutely certain she was doing the right thing. But Atlas wasn't being aggressive. He was detecting something invisible. 1 second, Sarah was pulling her dog away from her daughter. The next, she was dialing emergency services with trembling fingers. What Atlas revealed in those critical moments was so profound. It transformed how Sarah understood protection forever. The separation. Sarah Mitchell had rehearsed this introduction 100 times in her mind, and each scenario ended with anxiety twisting in her stomach. Introducing 8-week-old Emma to Atlas, their 4-year-old German Shepherd, felt like defusing a bomb where timing meant everything. Atlas had been their companion for years, devoted, intelligent, but still an 80-pound animal with instincts Sarah couldn't entirely control. Perhaps we should postpone this another week, Sarah suggested to her husband, Michael, that morning, while rocking Emma gently. She's still so fragile. Michael lowered his newspaper, frustration evident in his expression. Sarah, we've discussed this repeatedly. We can't keep Atlas confined to the garage indefinitely. This is his home as well. I understand. But, what if something happens? Her voice wavered, with weeks of accumulated stress from interrupted sleep. Atlas scratched persistently at doors downstairs. Sarah's vision blurred from sleeplessness. Exhaustion had etched permanent shadows beneath her eyes, and her hands shook slightly as she adjusted Emma's blanket. I just know that animals can be unpredictable. Michael, she's so vulnerable. Atlas had been displaying unusual behavior since they'd returned from the hospital with Emma. He'd patrol the corridor outside the nursery constantly, his claws creating rhythmic sounds against the wooden floor at every hour. He'd press his entire body against the door, producing soft, urgent sounds. Whenever Sarah or Michael emerged, Atlas would attempt to force his way inside, his focus locked on something beyond their perception. He's experiencing jealousy, Sarah's sister had mentioned during a phone conversation. Canines become possessive when infants arrive in the household. Sarah had accepted this explanation. She'd maintained the separation, experienced guilt about it, but continued nonetheless. The introduction. That afternoon, Sarah determined it couldn't be delayed any longer. She positioned Emma on the living room activity mat, creating a barrier of cushions around her, and instructed Michael to release the side door. Atlas rushed inside, his tan and black coat gleaming with vitality. But the instant he noticed Emma, he became motionless, his ears erected sharply, his substantial head angled to one side, and he produced a single piercing bark. Emma's expression contorted, her mouth opened widely, and she began screaming, that penetrating infant cry that pierced directly through Sarah's core. You see, Sarah lunged forward, gathering Emma into her arms. This was an error. He frightened her. Sarah, hold on. No, Michael. Observe her. Her voice fractured as Emma's screams escalated, her miniature fists grasping at her shirt. We require more time. But Atlas didn't retreat. He didn't cower or bark repeatedly. Instead, he advanced closer, his demeanor transforming into something Sarah had never witnessed previously. The dog's ears pressed flat against his skull knot, displaying aggression, but surrender. His tail descended. He took measured, intentional steps toward Sarah and the wailing infant, his intense eyes focused, not on Emma's face, but on her torso. Atlas, no, away. Sarah's available hand extended outward, palm facing forward. Atlas completely disregarded her command. Michael, secure his collar. Michael reached for Atlas, but the dog maneuvered around him with unexpected swiftness. He was concentrated now. His respiration accelerated, his nose quivering. He thrust his muzzle toward Emma's body, inhaling frantically at her clothing. Atlas, cease this. Sarah rotated her body defensively, protecting Emma. Her pulse hammered against her ribcage. This was precisely what she dreaded, the dog becoming excessively aggressive, excessively curious, excessively unpredictable. Atlas produced a sound Sarah had never heard him create previously, a piercing, frantic whine that seemed to resonate with desperation. Then, he performed something that caused Sarah's blood to freeze. The dog elevated onto his rear legs, and positioned both front paws on Sarah's thighs, his complete mass pressing forward, his muzzle pushed urgently against Emma's midsection, prodding, nearly scratching at the material of her sleeper. Michael, remove him from me. Sarah staggered backward, nearly losing equilibrium. Michael seized Atlas's collar, pulling forcefully. Atlas, down. What's affecting you? But as Michael dragged Atlas away, the dog began resisting, genuinely resisting. He anchored his paws and refused movement, his muscles taut. He barked again, more intensely this time, his eyes wild with something resembling terror. Michael, he's becoming uncontrollable. We need to. Sarah stopped mid-statement because Emma had ceased crying. Not the gradual calming of an infant being comforted, but an immediate, unsettling silence. Sarah glanced down. Her daughter's complexion had transformed from crimson to ashen. Her eyes were partially closed, wavering. Her tiny chest, her stomach plummeted. Her chest was scarcely moving. Michael. The word emerged as a whisper. Michael. Something's incorrect. The discovery. She lifted Emma's sleeper with quaking hands. What she observed made the space spinner rash, expanding across her torso like spreading flames, elevated, furious welts that appeared to materialize even as she watched. Her skin radiated heat, burning through her fingertips. Her breathing had grown labored, a delicate whistling sound emanating from her throat. Oh God, Michael, what is it? Call emergency services now. Michael's complexion drained completely. He released Atlas's collar and grasped for his phone, nearly dropping it multiple times before managing to activate the screen. Atlas immediately rushed back to Sarah, but this time Sarah didn't repel him. The dog pressed his body against Sarah's legs, whimpering, his nose still directed at Emma. 911. What's your emergency? My infant. Michael's voice shattered. My infant isn't breathing properly. She has this rash covering her, and dear God, she's turning blue. Sarah descended to her knees on the floor, embracing Emma. Her lips had acquired a subtle bluish shade. Her eyes had rolled back marginally. Atlas positioned himself beside them, his head resting on his paws, but his body coiled tensely. Is she experiencing an allergic response? The dispatcher inquired. I don't know. We didn't introduce anything different. Any new foods? No. Remain calm, sir. I have an ambulance dispatched. Is the infant conscious? Barely, Sarah uttered hoarsely. Tears flowed down her face, falling onto Emma's pale forehead. Please. Atlas shifted nearer, his substantial head pressing softly against Emma's side. He licked her miniature hand once, then gazed up at Sarah with eyes that appeared impossibly human. The race against time, the minutes before the ambulance arrived, expanded into infinity. Sarah held Emma against her chest, sensing each shallow breath, counting them, praying between each one. Michael paced frantically, his phone still pressed to his ear as the dispatcher guided them through, maintaining the baby's airway open. When the paramedics exploded through the entrance, they moved with rehearsed precision. One of them, a man with close-cropped hair, took Emma from Sarah's arms, while another prepared an oxygen mask, so diminutive it resembled a toy. Anaphylactic shock, the first paramedic stated, examining the rash. Critical. We must transport her to the hospital immediately. But from what Sarah's voice was shredded. She didn't consume anything. She didn't. Sometimes we don't identify the cause immediately, ma'am. Let's stabilize her first. They loaded Emma into the ambulance. Sarah climbed in beside her, while Michael followed in their vehicle. Throughout everything, Atlas remained at the front entrance, observing, his tail positioned between his legs, but his ears vigilant. The medical discovery. At the hospital, physicians worked swiftly and injection of epinephrine, intravenous fluids, monitoring equipment that beeped and illuminated. Sarah and Michael stood compressed against the wall, gripping hands so intensely their knuckles blanched, observing their daughter struggle for consistent breathing. Dr. Rodriguez, the pediatric allergist on duty, examined Emma comprehensively while posing rapid-fire questions. Any new laundry detergents? soaps. Did you modify her formula? No, Sarah stated. Everything remains identical. We're extremely cautious about such things. What about environmental elements? Any construction being performed in the residence? New flooring, fresh paint. Michael's eyes expanded. The flooring. Oh God. The flooring. Sarah rotated toward him. What? The installation specialist came 5 days ago. Remember? For the nursery, we wanted it completed before we brought Emma home. Dr. Rodriguez's expression sharpened. What type of flooring? Some kind of laminate. The technician mentioned it was new, recently delivered. He suggested we should ventilate the room, but David's face collapsed. We didn't. We were so enthusiastic about having the nursery prepared. We just positioned her directly in there. The physician nodded slowly. Volatile organic compounds new flooring can release chemicals formaldehyde, benzene, various others. Most adults tolerate it adequately, but an 8-week-old infant with a developing immune system, sleeping in a confined, enclosed space for extended periods daily. She shook her head. Her body was being poisoned gradually. The reaction today was acute, because the exposure reached a dangerous threshold. Sarah's legs nearly collapsed. Michael caught her, and they embraced each other tightly. If you'd postponed another several hours, Dr. Rodriguez continued, her voice compassionate but resolute. Her airways could have sealed completely. The reaction was severe enough that we're discussing a potentially lethal outcome. But how did we not recognize it? Sarah whispered. How did we overlook it? The symptoms can be subtle initially. Irritability, disrupted sleep, minor skin irritation. Parents frequently attribute it to colic or normal infant behavior. Dr. Rodriguez paused, studying them. What prompted you to bring her in when you did? Sarah and Michael exchanged glances. Our dog, Michael stated quietly. Our dog wouldn't abandon her. He kept attempting to reach her, kept inhaling at her chest. We believed he was being aggressive, but he knew something was incorrect, Sarah finished. Her voice fractured. Atlas knew. He was attempting to alert us, and we nearly permanently removed him from our home. Dr. Rodriguez's expression softened. Animals possess extraordinary sensory capabilities. Canines can detect chemical alterations in the body through scent. Your dog was likely detecting the histamine response, the chemical changes in your daughter's skin and respiration. He was attempting to alert you. Coming home, they retained Emma overnight for observation. By morning, the rash had diminished 2 faint pink spots, and her breathing had normalized. Dr. Rodriguez prescribed an provided strict instructions about removing the flooring, and cleared them to return home. When they arrived in the driveway, Atlas was positioned at the window. The instant Sarah opened the door, the dog approached slowly, cautiously, his eyes fixed on the infant carrier in Michael's hands. Sarah knelt down. She positioned her hand on Atlas's head, feeling the soft fur, the warmth of the animal's skull. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm profoundly sorry, boy. You were attempting to save her, and I. Her voice broke completely. Atlas pressed his forehead against Sarah's chest, and Sarah wrapped her arms around the dog's neck, weeping into his fur. Michael positioned the carrier down, and Atlas immediately approached. But this time, when he sniffed Emma, his tail moved slowly. He licked her hand once, gently, then reclined beside the carrier guardian, resuming his position. That evening, after they dismantled the crib and established a temporary sleeping space in their bedroom, Sarah stood in the doorway, observing. Michael arranged blankets, while Atlas lay beside the bassinet, his head resting on his paws. The dog's eyes tracked every movement, every breath. He's not going to leave her vicinity, is he? Michael said softly. No, Sarah replied, and I'm not going to request that he does. She contemplated all those nights she'd kept Atlas separated, convinced she was protecting Emma. All those hours, the dog had paced and whined, while Sarah had interpreted it as jealousy. She thought about how close they'd come to permanently removing Atlas from their lives, convinced he was a threat. The greater truth. Sometimes the boundary between danger and safety is guarded not by what we see, but by what we sense. Instinct exists deeper than reasoning. The loyalty of a creature who cannot speak but comprehends more than we imagine. What we fear often blinds us to the protectors standing directly beside us, waiting for us to simply listen. The most profound love doesn't announce itself with words. It appears persistent and unwavering, even when pushed away. If this story shook you to your core and made you question what you might be missing right in front of you, don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts about the incredible bond between animals and children, and subscribe for more powerful stories that remind us what truly matters. Share it with friends and family, because sometimes the guardian angel we need most is the one we've been turning away. Please leave a like on this video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to The Gentle Bond for more incredible true stories of love, loyalty, and the magic that happens when a pet becomes family.